on holiday in Costa Rica for about 3 weeks, and then the south of France, and now we're back in Paris, and it is boiling hot. I'm going to try not to let sweat drip down me this entire video, but I've turned off our fan so that you can hear me, and I'm really warm. But I'm going to try and do this as quick as I can. Basically, I wrote for this Austin-based magazine called SELVA BEAT, which my friend Magdalena from the Ethical Writers Coalition has put together. This is the second issue. For the first issue, I wrote an eco guide to Paris, and for the second issue, I wrote how to go zero waste, or some tips on going zero waste. They also have palm oil and vegan beauty, and Eco Guide to Portland in this issue, as well as a bunch of ethical fashion lookbooks and things like that. It's a really cool magazine. You can buy it online and just download it, or you can also get it in a real live copy if you're living in Texas or somewhere nearby. This is our cat, Flacco. He just moved in uninvited, so he's kind of like a squatter, but he's a welcome squatter, so he might just kind of cruise through. But yeah, I'm going to get started with water bottles. I chose to get a clean canteen, basically because it's got this really wide mouth, so you can fill it up and clean it out really easily, which we kind of need because we travel quite a lot. I've got this size, which I carry around in my bag on a daily basis, and then we have a larger one for trekking around on like longer trips or hikes or whatever. It also works really well as a coffee mug. You can get a different top for sipping, but we filled up the larger one we have with coffee before we left for Costa Rica when we were in the airport, and it stayed hot until we got to Costa Rica. Same goes for it staying cold. So I 100% recommend these ones. They have I've had this I think for about 3 months, and the colors started to scrape off, so it's not as pretty as it was when I first wrote about it, but it still works like a charm. Basically, the reason you want to go with one of these instead of a plastic water bottle, or there's a number of reasons. The first is that you're basically paying 2,900 times the price for the water ported in plastic water bottles than what is essentially tap water. So you think you're paying for spring water, but it's not actually any different at all from what you're getting in your tap. And in fact, the water in your tap is tested more often than the water from our buddies at Nestle and other brands like that. On top of that, ingesting anything which is ported in plastic or it gets hot in that plastic, especially liquids, allows the BPAs which are in the plastic to infuse into the water, and then when you drink the water, you ingest those BPAs, and they cause various different types of cancer, developmental issues in children, miscarriages, basically more than 2 handfuls worth of issues. I've written a blog post specifically on making a sustainable switch from plastic water bottles to reusable water bottles, which I've linked in below if you want to find out some more information. I've also linked some other great brands. I just chose Clean Canteen because it was the wide mouth, and I knew it worked really well, and it's also available in France, which is where I live, so it's perfect. Oh yeah, and the other thing about plastic bottles is they never decompose. There are about like 5 gyres of plastic in our oceans, and a good majority of that plastic is made up of disposable water bottles, and they never biodegrade, so they're going to live longer than we do, which kind of kicks you into an existential crisis, but I'll move on. The next one I wanted to talk about was cotton balls. I've written before about the issues with cotton, especially cotton that's non-organic. So non-organic cotton is grown with pesticides, and it also uses a lot of the local fresh water that the communities who grow cotton need to drink and use for cooking and things like that. And when you use pesticides to grow crops, those pesticides and chemicals go into the soil, so for your clothing, for your beauty products, anything that you're using. And when it goes into the soil, it gets into their food, into their water sources, and it's been causing lots of cancers and various other issues with the health of the people who actually grow the product. And then on top of that, you're rubbing those pesticide-filled cotton balls on your face, or inserting those tampons into yourself, or supporting the t-shirts, which are full of chemicals as well, and your body ingests all of that through your pores, which is not awesome. So one sustainable switch could be organic cotton balls or organic cotton pads. It's definitely better than conventional ones. The other option are these. This is by a brand called Lamazuna, which is a French brand, which is why I bought them, because they're just down the street. But they make these reusable cotton pads. They're not actually cotton. They make reusable pads for removing your makeup and putting on toner and whatever else you need to do with cotton pads. It comes in a box of 10, and when you're done using them, you shove them in this bag. Here's the dirty ones. And mascara. And then when you do your washing, or do your laundry, you just shove them in the bag and close it and throw it in with the rest of your laundry, and they come out clean. Really, really good. I also use this bag for traveling when I'm not going to be around, and you can also just wash them by hand after you use them if you like. I was going to talk a little bit more about cotton balls, but I've linked in below, sorry I'm sweating, I've linked in below some, the blog post that I did on cotton balls, so you can click if you want to find out some more information about why you would make the sustainable switch from normal cotton balls to reusable cotton pads. The next one is the Moon Cup. This is something I've just recently switched over to. Basically what I was talking about before about having pesticides in your cotton means that when you insert your tampon, which is also made of cotton, all those pesticides are then absorbed by your vaginal wall into your body, which is not good. So you have a couple of choices. Conventional tampons are definitely a no-no. That's kind of how you get toxic shock syndrome. And basically, like, menstrual rhythms alone bring 200,000 tons of garbage into the landfills each year, just with pads and tampons. If you use organic cotton, then at least the production of your tampons is not causing health issues for the people who grow the cotton, and B, you're not ingesting the pesticides and other chemicals that are used in growing your cottons into your vagina, which is not good. This Moon Cup is reusable. I have like a little tiny pot that I use to boil it after use. You rinse it out with Castile soap and water, and then you boil it to sterilize it. It basically like folds up, and then you put it up, and it opens up and catches all your blood. Sounds kind of gross because obviously you're going to see your blood when you pull it out, but it's actually really important to know how much you bleed, what color your blood is, all these things for if you have any health issues, and be able to compare between periods between month to month. You'll notice a difference much easier if you're using something like this. It's not for everyone. They have two sizes, one for women who have not had children yet and one for women who have. I've linked below my post on tampons and pads. There's reusable pads, organic tampons, and then these cups as kind of options for you to switch over to if you're still using conventional tampons or pads. And then I've also linked in my story of my first day using my Moon Cup, which is a little bit awkward and kind of funny, and a little bit informative as well. So the next one is disposable razors. There are about 2 billion disposable razors going into the landfill each year. I originally switched over to this, which is by a brand called Toothbrushes, which my friend's family runs. It's a really, really great thing to be able to switch into these safety razors because A, you're saving money. You just buy this it's 30 British pounds, so like in the US or anywhere else it'd be around the same number. And then you have these reusable blades, which I'm not going to unwrap so I don't cut myself, but you put them in, use them, and then you take them back out again, you wrap them up, and there's a special place to drop off stainless steel for the recycling. So you just I have just like a can that I use to collect the razors, and then when I have enough of them, I send them on their merry way. The only problem with this is that my skin is too sensitive, and so this single blade just made me have a huge ingrown hair rash. So if you have sustainable skin, no, if you have sensitive skin, I wouldn't recommend it. I've switched back to a razor that has the bottom, but you still, I'm really struggling with my words. A razor that has a reusable bottom, but you replace the top. I don't think it's the most sustainable choice possible, but I haven't been able to find something available in France that allows me to use the disposable tops and recycle them through the systems. So I'm still searching for that where I live. I've linked in below the post that I wrote on disposable razors and why you should switch over from disposable to reusable. Quick fanning break. It's like plus 32 degrees Celsius here. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, like 100 or something, but it's really warm. The next thing is bamboo toothbrushes, and I'm a massive fan of these. The brand that we've been using is Brush with Bamboo. They have castor bean bristles, so the whole thing is biodegradable. And the really cool thing about bamboo is it grows like 24 inches in 24 hours. It requires no watering, so it just naturally grows with the rain and the local systems of rain. And basically the issue with conventional toothbrushes is that they take about 1,000 years to biodegrade. So we usually change our toothbrushes about every 3 months, so you can imagine in your lifetime how many bits of garbage that are going to outlive you, your children and your grandchildren, and your grandchildren's grandchildren, and so on and so forth, that are basically just floating around in the landfills or in the ocean. There's a really awful picture of a seabird, a baby seabird that has ingested a couple of plastic toothbrushes, which you can see on my blog. I've written twice about bamboo toothbrushes, and I really recommend making the switch. They're really amazing, and I'm really sort of picky about my toothbrush choice. And there are a bunch of really good brands. These ones are just available in France, so that's why I've kind of gone with them, but I've tried about 3 or 4 brands, which I've linked into the blog post about bamboo below. And the other great thing about these is because they're made of all natural materials, they're biodegradable, so you just basically put them in your compost after use and they disappear. So that's a very cool thing. The next thing is the coffee cup. I am a massive fan of these Keep cups because they're so dang cute. They also make them in plastic, and I will admit this is my second one because we had an issue whilst traveling where I won't blame it on my husband, but he grabbed it from the top and I hadn't put the lid back on properly, and we were over a cement floor and it smashed. So they are breakable, as it turns out. But for the city, I like to just keep it in my bag, and if I decide to get a to-go coffee, which is very unconventional here in France, but when I'm in England for sure, and also I just like having coffee with me because I'm North American. But basically the issues with coffee cups, like at Starbucks or Costa Coffee or Pret a Manger or I'm trying to think of coffee companies in the States and Canada, and I'm drawing a blank, but Starbucks is everywhere. Is that the, I'm going to try and pronounce it properly, polyethylene lining, which is basically in the middle of the 2 bits of paper that you're holding, is what is not recyclable. So even though Starbucks says you can recycle your coffee cups, you actually can't. It's impossible to recycle them. And they take about 50 years to biodegrade, and that's almost all of the coffee cups that you find in chain stores for coffee. Some of like the hipster joints and smaller coffee companies have compostable cups, which is really great, but the only problem is that it still takes a lot of energy and resources in order to make those compostable cups available. So it is a solution for sure, but the best solution is to have something reusable. My entire family uses reusable coffee cups, so in the post that I wrote about my Keep cup and about making the switch from using disposable coffee cups to reusable coffee cups, I've linked in all the products that my family uses, from my brother and sister, my mom, my step-parents, everybody. But I've gone with the Keep cup because it's pretty. Next up, I have a tote bag. These are ones that I make out of upcycled fabrics, so it's kind of a shameless promotion. They're just kind of, I like the fabric obviously, and it's got a short handle as well as long handles, which I'm doing a bad job at displaying. And then it has like a little pocket for your phone and your wallet and things like that, and then it's just a normal tote bag. Any kind of tote bag is good. Basically you want to just avoid plastic bags because there's about 1 million plastic bags used every year that just end up in the landfill or floating around in the oceans and waterways. They're huge issues for the wildlife, both in and out of the water. I've linked in below the story or the blog post that I've written on plastic bags. Have a read through just because it's really important that you understand the reasons why not to use them in order to be more diligent about not actually using them. Inside this bag I usually carry one more smaller, one of those nylon ones that you can kind of shove inside itself, just so if I end up going grocery shopping or something like that, I can avoid, or clothing shopping, I can avoid using any plastic. The next one is straws. I don't have a reusable straw yet. I don't really use straws that much. It's not really my thing, but I have noticed, and in the blog post that I wrote about straws, that they're pretty much put in every single cocktail drink that you get when you're out and about. So basically, like each day we use 500 million straws, and that's more than we need to be using. There's a really awful video, which I've linked in to the blog post that I wrote about straws, of a turtle with a little bit of a straw up its nose. It'll break your heart. It's really hard to watch. It's probably one of the saddest things I've ever seen, and I'm not saying that like as a hippy-dippy type of person, and genuinely you can see in that turtle's eyes how much pain it's in, and it hurt the turtle to take it out. But also, straws are pretty much unnecessary. If you're wearing lipstick, there's stuff you can get to cover your lips, like lip coat, so your lipstick doesn't transfer. And other than that, I can't really think of a reason why you need to use a straw. But if you do, and I'm not judging you if you do, there are reusable, stainless steel straws, which you can just keep in your bag and bring along with you, so that if you end up getting a cocktail or a drink or iced coffee or whatever, you can just use that reusable straw, and then you just rinse it off in the bathroom after and shove it back in your bag. I've linked in below the story on straws as well, which has sustainable switches as well as brands that you can change over to, and some more statistics about straws as well. The other one is cutlery. I would have preferred a stainless steel piece of cutlery, but I needed a reusable piece of cutlery one day, so I got this from Light My Fire, from one of the stores near Republic. It's a spork, half spoon, half fork, and I basically just keep it in my bag because, it's also got like a little knife thing here too. I basically just keep it in my bag so that if I end up getting food to go, that I don't find myself using plastic forks and knives and spoons. The issue with cutlery, basically the biggest environmental issue impact with cutlery or disposable cutlery happens while it's being made, but it's made out of polystyrene, which is styrofoam, and it's almost impossible to recycle. There is, again, compostable cutlery, which you can buy, and a lot of conscious companies and cafes and shops and restaurants have that. But the best way to reduce waste is to have something that you bring with you, so that even if you have your own picnic or end up picking up food to go, you're not using disposable cutlery, which basically doesn't biodegrade. The final thing that I wanted to talk about is lighters. We still have some lighters kicking around the house, and then we also use matches. The best kind of matches to use are not these, which are wood. It's the cardboard matches, which are made out of recycled cardboard. I also really recommend Mayan matches, which you can't get out here, but they're made out of cactus quills, and they're completely biodegradable. You can get them in the States at H-E-B, I think, as well as in Canada, and basically any outdoor shop usually has them. There are about 1.5 billion plastic lighters which reach our landfills each year, and they take about 450 and 1,000 years to biodegrade, so they're not a great choice for us to use to light things like cigarettes and joints and candles and Palo Santo and incense and sage. But I would just recommend that you use out what you have, make sure you put it in the recycling, and then switch over to matches as soon as you can. All these products which I've spoken about today are just sort of the beginnings of making sustainable switches into living a more eco lifestyle. I've been running a series called Gone Green 2016, which I'm trying to write every day about different sustainable switches you can make in terms of products that we use, as well as habits and clothing and basically everything under the sun. You can follow my blog at leotlovely.blogspot.com. I've also linked it in a whole bunch of times with each of the product posts that I did below. And if you're interested in reading SELVA BEAT, I will link in below as well, where you can download your copy of the magazine. If you have any questions, just write them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Bye.